Hello, everybody. I know that some of you have a microphone on. If you haven't heard, you do have a volume adjustment. I'm a little bit loud. I'm Latina, so I'm just giving you guys a little bit of a heads up. You can adjust your volume if I get a little bit too loud for you all. Nice to meet everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Alexandra Ramirez, and I'm the Director of Sales for Avask in our U.S. office. And here's my colleague.
I'm Jérôme de Guigné, so it's a French name. We're getting a bit more European already. So I'm the head and the founder of e-Comas, which is an agency based out of Luxembourg in the heart of Europe. And we're a partner of Avask, and we'll be talking about expanding into Europe today.
Thank you, Jerome. So how many people here, you can do a show of hands, I know we don't got microphones out there for you all, who here has expanded into the UK or Europe? Couple of you. Who here has actually said, I'm not really sure if I want to do that because it's a little too complicated? A lot of people, right? So we know that that's a topic that can be a little bit scary sometimes, especially because we're so used to being in Amazon US. So one thing that we want to talk about today is how can we simplify this and help you all for it? Because we all know that Amazon US Marketplace is the largest one. It's just something that we all know is a reality. Now, even though Amazon US is the largest one, to the tune of 2.5 million active sellers and growing every single day, the issue becomes that it is the most competitive market. And because of so many people selling, rising ad costs, storage fees, all these different things are affecting people's margins. And I'm sure some people here can really feel that squeeze, right? Like what else can we do to make our margins better? So something that we want to make sure that we address with you is that, number one, not only is Amazon growing, but other marketplaces, which we know, in multiple countries that you might not even be thinking about. So these are some things that you should really think about is that e-commerce is growing between 8 and 10% year over year and more. Now, from that growth in e-commerce, it's mainly cross-border sales that are starting to outpace domestic e-com sales. And in addition to that, 25% is actually what's being taken from e-commerce. It's Europe. And a lot of people are overlooking a very large area that you might not be considering to grow into. So that's what we want to talk about today is why now and what can we actually do to help simplify these processes?
I get to talk a bit about going deep diving into Europe. So the UK and the EU is actually a larger market than the whole of the US, right? It's 500 million potential customers, so it's a huge market. It's even larger if you talk about euros and like billions of dollars, right? So $565 billion by 2029. So it's a massive market. There's no doubt about that. There's actually, in general, less competition in many of the categories where you would have like issues with CPCs, cost per click, or any of the things you're fighting in the US. Usually in Europe, it's much less of a fight. And one thing is because the world is very flat now, a lot of customers know about a lot of brands worldwide. And we sometimes see customers in Europe saying, okay, how can I get my hands onto that product, on this product? So buying from the US is very complicated. So there's a great opportunity, a lot of buyers waiting to have the brands which are coming from the US. Can I have one slide back, please? So too fast. So I was talking about 565 billion. So you have a breakdown. So lots of numbers. What's interesting to see is that the total market, this is a total addressable market in e-commerce. And you can see here the UK is actually bigger. If you talk about Amazon itself, Germany is usually on top of the UK, but basically it gives you the idea that the two main markets addressable are the UK and Germany, or Germany and the UK. And that's the first insight. So if you're looking at to expanding, you can see that. And then the other markets are really close. There you go.
Thank you. Now, I mentioned that there's a lot of marketplaces. Of course, Amazon makes it so much easier for you to go across and cross-border. But these are all the marketplaces where sellers currently across the world are buying brands and they're reselling actually in a lot of your categories. So these are things that you should actually keep in mind. Mainly in Europe and UK, they are thriving there. So these are some areas that you can actually think about and expand into. And one of the things that we have actually seen in all the sellers that we speak to, we do an evaluation. We look at their category, we look at their actual brand, and we found about 5 to 10% of the sellers that we speak to, either their own brand or their category is already being sold somewhere in Europe or in the UK and thriving there. So you might already have people looking for what you're actually selling, but you're not actually there. So there's a very large gap that you could actually take advantage of. We recently had somebody selling a fitness equipment brand that was a reseller in Europe, was doing absolutely incredible. The seller had no idea that their brand was thriving in Europe. Now they've expanded into Europe and they've actually been able to help with their profits, margins, and especially with now with all the tariffs issues that we know we're all facing. So here's a couple of things that we're actually going to talk about. So why do people choose not to actually expand? And
You can keep it.
timing is
Yeah.
one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Right?
So the first thing is indeed timing is you a lot of you said, okay, we don't know if we want to go because it's very complex. So the whole point is that true, Europe is very big, it's a big market, but it can be complex. The good news is there's a lot of people who can help out. E-commerce is it's what we do is we help out specifically American brands come into Europe. Going through finding the right partners like Avast, or you start with Avast and they will help you find us and address all those complexities and streamlining all your processes so that you're in safe hands and try to streamline also the costs.
Compliance and shipping is another reason, which most of you lifted your hand when I asked, have you thought about expanding and you're not really sure? I know that the logistics and the compliance of going into Europe or going into the UK is a very major factor. So, one of the things that Avast does, we can number one, help you understand which is the best market for you to start in. You don't have to start in every single marketplace because it is very easy with one like cross border to be able to do multiple countries, but you have to go to multiple at the same time. We can start you off with UK or Germany, as you saw, as the largest ones. And not only will we ensure that we can get you properly your VAT, we will also ensure that you are fully compliant. What does that mean? Being fully compliant can mean your labeling. It can mean your EPR, which, if you're not familiar with EPR, it is basically an eco tax that you do have to ensure country by country that whether it's your packaging or your electronics or your batteries, you might have to pay a specific EPR. If you did that on your own and you actually launch, your store can get automatically shut down. So before you even start, you've already been affected. So that's why it's really important to work with somebody like Avast to ensure that from day one, not only do you have your VAT, but you also have your compliance in check so you don't have to worry about any of that. Continuously and ongoing as well, what we can also help with is filings. You don't want to just start doing amazing in UK and EU, and then what just happened? Why did my store get shut down again? Because maybe you weren't doing your filings appropriately. So that's another thing that Avast can actually help you with. So if beginning with somebody like e-Comas and then working with Avast is the whole package to be able to assist you in expanding to UK and EU.
So we get into market understanding. So first you need to make sure you've got the right people, the right partner for understanding the different complexities. One for compliance, shipping, taxes. The next thing is understanding the market size. So we already touched upon the largest markets in Europe. UK and Germany are the largest ones, and then you've got the other ones. We didn't touch upon you've got Belgium, you've got Netherlands, you've got even more markets, right? But you want to start from somewhere. The idea is to understand the size of the price, if you could say. And a lot of the work we do is helping the brands understand. Some brands will have a bigger market in France, some in UK, some in Germany, depending on your categories. One example, we work with a pool accessories brand from the US. The biggest country, question for you, do you know which is in Europe the biggest country for pools? We would think maybe it's Germany because it's the biggest one. No, it's actually France. So they would start from France, for example, and then we would study the market and understand that. So one part of the success is to know, okay, who's your competitors, what the size of the market, and where is most important to start. here again, it's important to start with people who know about the nuances of the market. And here's again, good news is we can help on that.
And the last reason why a lot of people choose that they're a little bit not concerned about expanding is the language barrier. But today, AI really exists. So it's so easy nowadays to be able to translate your listings. And we also work with a partner to help you localize. That's one thing that it is very important. So even though UK, for example, is English, it's lower barrier of entry, it's much easier to get into. We want to ensure that you're localizing because we all know culturally things can be different area by area. So you can either utilize AI or we can actually help you with one of our partners that helps you with language and localization. So, in order of what you want to make sure that you want to make sure you do this strategically, which is why it's so important to work with partners like e-Comas and Avast. And the first thing that we want to talk about is why now? We already talked about the opportunity and the size that exists right now in Europe of buying power. The amount of sellers is just absolutely humongous for you to not even be trying. And the US market is already extremely saturated, so competitive. If you were to think about any brands that you currently buy, almost everything that's in retail is online in the US. And that's not the case in Europe. In Europe, it's a very small number, and although it's growing year over year, that's why the opportunity is massive. Because we're so used to in the US that if you see something, you can buy it so quickly on Amazon. The reality of it is not the same in Europe. So that's where the gap is that you can actually take that as an opportunity.
So also we've seen that the urban market's got a significant size you could see, and it's got the market is there, so that's interesting. And we said it's less competitive in general. We have a lower barrier to entry also. You will see with Avask the simplification. There's lots of it was more complex. It's getting easier to do cross-border selling, especially with someone who knows what he's talking about.
And with European Union, it does make cross-border selling much, much easier. And a lot of the things are combined. So it's quite easy, especially with Amazon, for example, having a pan-EU program. You can actually work with Amazon and only have two VAT numbers, but you can expand into multiple countries. So there's a lot of different things that depending on what you're interested in, when you meet with one of our team members at Avast, we can actually let you know and consult you on what we think the best way forward is for you all. So, can your business actually afford not to go global? We don't think so. We've already shown you some of that opportunity, right? So, because of this expansion potential, we actually want to walk you through what a quick roadmap looks like. So, step one would be
Yeah.
working with.
Oh, I get the mic, so I can speak into the mic. So this is probably the second important. You had one slide with everything. This is the second most important one. So the idea is it's a flow, right? You would start to build a strategy and find someone who can help you on the strategy if you're not comfortable, and then register on the VAT aspect with Avask. I can tell you we have probably between 50 to 60 brands today. Not all of them American, but a big part is American. All the foreign brands coming into Europe, we go through Avast, and we've been working with Avast for the last 6, 7 years. The agency is 12 years old, so half of that time we've always done it with Avast. They do a great job, and you cannot play around with taxes, especially in Europe. They've enforced laws. If you don't follow, Amazon will block your account. So you can't take your chances on that aspect. So I would always recommend take people who know their job, who are reliable, and who do a good job. Here's the mic.
And then, so we'll set you up with your VAT. As we mentioned, we'll make sure that are covered within EPR, which is the eco tax and e-country will require. And then lastly, we can even help you with shipping. So we do have shipping ourselves as well as some of our colleagues and partners. We can set you up with help with logistics. So every step of the way from beginning to end until you're actually in Amazon, we can walk you and consult you on. And the last thing is that for ongoing, as we mentioned, the filing and everything that has to do once you are already selling in UK and EU, we can handle so you don't have to worry about the paperwork. Today, you probably as a business owner don't do your own taxes. You probably have a CPA, right? So same thing as working with Avast. Although it's not a CPA, it's just ensuring that everything is properly done. So Right before we head out, we've got a slide up here with an offer for everybody sitting in here. We've got here that you can actually get a VAT for free. That's our first one. You can actually visit our booth. It's actually right back here where it says supply chain. If you turn around, you'll see supply chain. So visit our booth, come chat with our team members, and then you can also get a free VAT in Ireland. So there's a few different offers that we're happy to talk to you about. And if you'd like to connect with myself and Jerome, you can scan our QR codes here. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Very much.
Share.
Have a great show.